All right, let's talk about Mississippi House District 1. Yay. District 1, we have two contenders, Trent Kelly, the incumbent, if memory serves, and Mark Strauss. Let's talk about Trent Kelly. There's his website. Normally, you'd see me list the issues, but for this guy, I don't know what his issues are. The reason I don't know what his issues are is because his website sucks giant donkey balls. Go visit it. I dare you. Take a look at this jackhole's website. The guy's not even trying. So what are the pros for this guy? He's an incumbent, he's got name recognition, and he's got a decent conservative record. However, the cons. His conservative record goes up and down. I despise that. I'll show that to you in a minute. He likes to spend our money. For example, he likes to spend our money on COVID stimulus, right? I don't like that one little bit. He's got a weird, funky obsession with Uzbekistan. I got to believe he's getting something under the table, but I can't, that's just my guess, my belief. His website sucks bad. Please go visit it. Just see what I'm talking about. I've visited a ton of campaign websites at this point. This guy's is one of the worst. I mean, why bother? At least he had a website, so I'll give him that. I mean, he had a domain name and a website, but what was the point? There's nothing there. It's almost like he's not trying, like he thinks this is a layup for some reason. That pisses me off. So for his spending and for not really making the effort to really be hungry for the seat, I gave him 2 chains. Here's his record. Let me tell you why I don't like records like this, because although his overall record's of 92%, with MTG being 100%, right? The biggest problem I have here, get the old laser pointer out, is it goes up and down and up and down. And that tells me that's somebody who wants to be conservative when it's convenient and then isn't conservative once they're in office or it's not convenient. I do not like that. This is not a good trend. Okay, so let's talk about the other guy, Mark Strauss. There's his website, Strauss for House. I kind of like that. Issues, housing for legislatures. This one's kind of cool. Now, I want to talk about this for a second. I thought this was innovative. So what Mark suggests here is that senators and U.S. House members who go to D.C. don't rent or buy houses in DC. We actually create housing for them, like a dorm for senators and House members, and they live in the dorm, right? So they don't have to buy houses or rent apartments or do any of that crap. They just live in the dorm and the country pays for it. Now, at first it sounds like a bad idea because we're paying for something new, but actually it's a good idea because that means that they're not running off buying houses. And if they are, that's big time suspicious because they have housing. It really helps. It took me a minute to get my head around it, but it really helped the idea of supporting his next item, term limits. Because if you go live in a dorm, you're going to live in your dorm, go back to your district, meet your people, go back and forth, and then you leave. You haven't bought a house there. You haven't done any of that crap. There's no real incentive for you to stay in that office for 4 years. 40 is what I said, by the way. I mean, it sounded like 4. So I actually dig this idea. I think it's a cool idea. And he's the only person I've ever seen suggest anything even close to this. Check it out. Go to his website. Check it out. He kind of lays it out pretty well. He's for term limits, obviously, as I mentioned before. He's against abortion. Big on sex ed, K through 12. That is to say, not having sex ed until you're old enough to understand it. No subsidies for anything. I dig that too. This is kind of cool idea. This guy's got some really good innovative ideas. Just no subsidies. Forget about subsidies. If you can't stand on your own, then you don't stand, right? We don't need to bail anybody out. They either stand up on their own or they don't. We don't do subsidies. Now, that might be a little hardcore because there are some subsidies that might make sense. From an economic perspective from the country, I don't know, but you know what? I like the idea of, I'm a big flat tax guy myself too, so I believe in treating everybody equally. This would at least treat everyone equally. If nobody gets a subsidy, then everybody has an equal playing field. I had to take a sip of my Coke there. He's against taxes, of course, immigration. He's against illegal immigration, some of the standard stuff. Gerrymandering. This is another unique one to this guy. He wants to do away with gerrymandering. You know, whenever a state legislature gets all Democrats or gets majority Democrat and more majority Republican, what they tend to do is redraw the districts to support their party. And it's a very common activity. It happens in every state that I'm aware of, except maybe one or two, I think, that do it just by county, and they're always by county. So he wants to do away with that. And actually, that's actually not a terrible idea. You know, again, draw the district lines and don't make them all fun. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of some districts in some states. It looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. I mean, it's insane. It's like all over the damn place. So this would, you know, do it by county lines, I think is what he suggests, which is, I think, a reasonable suggestion. You know, very clear, distinct lines of districts. And again, like everything else this guy supports, they stand or fall on their own, right? They either become Democrat or Republican based on logical lines of the districts, not this weird gerrymandering crap. I think it's a good idea. As far as energy goes, he's for it, obviously. I think he mentioned the XL pipeline, but don't give me the lion. Now, this is where he may depart from most of us. He wants to legalize marijuana. You know, I don't agree with that position, but I respect, you know, his position on this. I think that if we look at Colorado, who legalized marijuana, certainly it has boosted some income for the state, but I think it's also created a new set of problems as well. So I'm not really for legalizing marijuana. If you want to get high, you know, go to Colorado, right? And they've already flipped that bit, and go there, have fun, right? But otherwise, I'm not on board with that. The military, he's big and strong on the military as well. I can support that. Right? I support everything except his legalized marijuana position. I think he's on target. All right, so here's the pros. Believes politicians are criminals. Yep, they are. Wants to bring, or at least the current set of politicians, we're trying to get new politicians in that aren't criminals. He wants to bring justice to the U.S. House. I like that. Isn't willing to compromise on policy, and has said so. I mean, that's cool. That he said, I'm not going to compromise. Then why should I? He sounds like a real fighter. He's hungry for the job. He actually has a website where you can figure out what his positions are. And according to him, anyway, I tried to look it up. There's no story on it. Of course, the liberal media probably bury something like this. But according to him, he threw Mitt Romney off his property in 2006. And I love that. Anybody who kicks Mitt Romney off anything deserves a medal, man. That the Mitt Romney, I almost, instead of Murkowski's, did Romney's for the Rhino scale, but I went with Murkowski's. Maybe I should have done Romney's. I don't know. So some of the cons, his ideas are a little out there, legalizing marijuana being the most notable. He's not a native Mississippi resident. He's only been there since 2018. And that could be, you know, a little bit of a negative because he really doesn't have his head around deep core Mississippi issues yet, but he will. It looks funky when wearing his glasses. Yeah, he's got some of the gayest glasses I've ever seen. I don't know what's up with that. It looks like a weird owl. But anyway, that notwithstanding, if you want to see the interview that Mark did with for yourself and see the guy, there he is with the glasses, by the way. I mean, look how weird that is. Those are, what is up with those glasses? You can see it here on, here's the link to the YouTube channel, and check it out for yourself. I highly encourage you, I'm going to do this for most of the candidates, I encourage you to go and watch their interview, especially with these guys, these super tall guys. They are really prolific about interviewing the candidates. I love it. These super tall guys are awesome. And then there's a local news station. I want to say it's Channel 13. You're going to see later on as well. Really, really do a good job in Mississippi. And Mississippi really seems to care and want to have good candidates. All right, so it should probably come as no surprise that my pick for Mississippi U.S. House District 1 is Mark Strauss. He's got an America First attitude. He really wants to clean up Congress and has some really good ideas. He's hungry for the job. And maybe he could be the Mississippi version of MTG. I mean, he's got the potential to do it based on everything I've seen. So I think he'd be a good choice. hell of a lot better choice than the incumbent. Get that dude out of there. That guy's not hungry for the job. He just needs to go.